Now let me show you how to adjust your ripping teeth and to be able to tell the depth that you're in the ground. You take your linch pin and your hitch pin and you remove them, and now your ripping tooth will slide up and down this shaft. As you can see, the shaft has 4 holes for different depth. I like to always start in the second hole, and I'll tell you why. If you were to take a look at the top of this shoe right here, and you look at the bottom of this bracket, top of the shoe, bottom of the bracket, in other words, how much shank you can see, that's your approximate depth in the ground. We built the TR3 so that when the shoe is touching the bottom, like in this case over here, there's absolutely no penetration in the ground. But I just put the pin in the second hole, which gives us approximately 2 inches of depth. That's a good, safe place to start. Most arena footing is between 2 and 3 inches deep. So if you are wanting your arena footing 2 to 3 inches deep, put in the second hole. If you want it 4 or 5 inches deep, third and fourth hole. If you don't want it touching at all, pin above it like this, and you won't have any penetration at all. So by adjusting your shank, you can gauge your depth. Now we've shown you the proper setup of the TR3 rake. The key elements are the relationship between the floating drag bar and the finish rake, adjusting your ripping teeth to the proper depth, and making sure that you start with a consistent arena. However, let me say this, every arena is built differently. Some arenas have more clay in them, silts, sands, sometimes it's natural ground. And even though you may have the TR3 in the proper position, you may still be gathering too much material on the blade or not enough material on the blade. And so we've made some adjustment opportunities based on the foam-filled stabilizing wheels. And so what I'd like to do is show you those foam-filled stabilizing wheels and tell you when you would want to move them and when you wouldn't. So let's say that you've got the TR3 set in the proper position. The blade's just touching the ground, the finish rake's just touching the ground, and you've got the ripping teeth set for 2 inches. However, there's too much material on the blade. It's overflowing and filling up the box. Then what I want you to do is to reach underneath your TR3, and I want you to remove the pin that holds the axle of the wheel in place, pull the wheel out. Now you'll notice that there are 5 hole positions. The TR3 comes shipped with the wheel in the middle position. If you have too much material on the blade, then you want to move the wheel back into the 4th hole from the top. This is moving, you want to do it on both sides, just moving the wheels back, which lifts the frame up. That's going to allow more flow and less material on the blade. If that doesn't work, you can even go one further back into the 5th hole. If you can't get enough material on the blade, let's say you've got the blade touching and the finish rake touching and you can't get enough material on the blade so you're not grading, you might want to take the wheels and move them forward into the 2nd hole from the top. This is going to allow more weight of the TR3 into the ground and allow more material on the blade. So there's an adjustment for you if you can't get the right amount of material on the blade of the TR3 rake. Let's say you feel you've got it in the proper position. The finish rake's pressing the ground, you're getting good action there, the soil's flowing through the back finish rake, but you're just getting too much material on the blade. You can use the floating drag bar arm. You can release the pin from the top hole, and I want to say this right up front, I do not recommend that one person does this. You really need 2 people to do this. One person on this arm and another one on this arm, but for instructional purposes I'm going to do it myself. And raise the blade and put the pin underneath the arm. This allows the blade to be raised up so that less material is being carried. You've got several hole options here, and so you can lift that blade as high as you want. You can actually get it out of play if you want. If you don't want any leveling action, if all you want to do is loosen and rake, you can actually lift that arm, pin the pin underneath the arm, and that blade will still float, but it'll be completely out of play. The opposite is also true. If you want the TR3 to be more aggressive and you actually want to carry a lot of material, I usually only recommend this if you're actually doing some rough grading, if you really want to move a lot of dirt. Let's say you're trying to move your high spots to your low spots and you really want more dirt carried than what the floating action will give you. Do this. Take the pin above the floating arm and just lock it down. Put the pin back in, and now this blade is like a box scraper. It will carry a lot of dirt and you'll be able to move an incredible amount of material to and from by just manually lifting the tool up and down and using the blade in a locked position.
A lot of people ask, what do I do with the dirt on the blade as I leave the arena? As you are leaving the arena, slowly lift up on the hydraulic 3-point and drop the dirt. Then when you come back in, put the TR3 back into the ground. This way you will never have a high spot at the entrance to your arena. Although I have shown the setup of the TR3 in a horse arena, I know that many of you have purchased your tool for the purpose of gravel road, trail, and property maintenance. The setup for the TR3 is exactly the same, no matter what application you are using it for.
Once you're done with your TR3, it's important that you unhook it from your tractor in a proper manner. And what I mean by that, it's more than just removing the 3 pins. What I'd like to see you do is every time that you're done with the TR3, get it, put it in the spot where you want to keep it. Then go to the floating drag bar arms, and just like it was when it was shipped to you, I want you to take this top pin, put it in the bottom hole, so that blade is locked down. Now when we lower the TR3 to the ground and we unhook from the tractor, the TR3 won't tip forward. So the next time you go to hook up, you can back right into it, the TR3 will be in the same position, and you can back your arms right into the 3-point hookup. For those of you who have purchased options on your TR3 rake, I brought a TR3 out for you that has 3 of our most popular options. The rock teeth, which are mounted to the floating drag bar, the manual quick adjust, which could also be used and controlled hydraulically, and our double duty, which gives you a second row of ripping teeth. I'm going to take a few minutes and show you the setup on each one and how to use each one appropriately.
The first one is the rock teeth for the floating drag bar, which will help you remove rocks from your arena.
You can see they're mounted by bolts right to the front of the drag bar, and if you'll notice, there are multiple holes in which to mount them. We did that so that as those teeth begin to wear, you can lower those blades down one at a time. It's very easy to manage, very easy to use, and very easy to adjust. This is the manual quick adjust. Now we've chosen to show you a manual one because with the hydraulics, all you do is raise and lower this bar with the ripping teeth through your hydraulic controls on your tractor. But most people will purchase the manual quick adjust. And what this option does is it gives you the opportunity not to have to reach in and change the depth of your teeth one at a time. With the movement of 2 pins, you can change your depth from 0 to about 8 inches deep. As you can see, there are multiple holes on the sliding bar. This allows you to reach in, pull out your pin, pull it out and slide it to whichever position and whatever depth you want. Then you go to the other side and you do the same thing and you have the exact same depth without having to move 7 to 10 to 15 teeth depending on the size rake that you have. As I mentioned on this TR3, we put a double duty on this tool. And many people buy this because they want twice the ripping action with every pass, and they also like the idea of having offset teeth. Now, before I get into how to use the teeth, I want to first mention getting the right relationship between the blade and the floating drag bar. It's the same as if you had a basic unit. You want your blade just barely touching the ground, and you want your back teeth touching the ground, so your TR3 is pitched and ready for you to put your teeth into action. In order to get the proper relationship between the floating drag bar and the finish rake, you have 2 methods of changing the position of the tool. You have your top link that's on the back of your tractor, and you also have a smaller 11-inch top link that controls your double duty. So between this top link and the top link on the tractor, you can get the right position between the blade and the finish rake. The mistake that most people make when using the double duty is this. They try to use their back teeth as their depth rippers. When you're wanting to break up hard pan or you're wanting to get 2, 3, 4 inches deep, use the front row as your ripping teeth. Don't use the back row as ripping teeth. The back row are designed to come in at a different depth, and they break that ridge that's created from the front teeth and it flows it over into the ruts of the ripping teeth from the front. This gives you a more consistent feel. You can walk across your arena and not feel any ridges or any hard spots. Now you can get that same feeling with the basic TR3 with only one row, but you'll have to make more passes. The double duty saves time and it gives you a more consistent footing. The last option I want to show you is our hydraulic cylinder. Now, all throughout this video I showed you a manual crank because that's what most people use. They usually have what's called an adjustable turn knuckle, and that's that gold piece that was on here earlier. But for some of you, you're going to have hydraulic remote capability on the back of your tractor. This one does. There was 2 ports here that allowed us to use our hydraulic cylinder. Now, Absolute Innovations custom made this one. You can't buy this one in the store. We made this one specifically for the TR3. We made it with a 21-inch stroke, and we made it so it would handle the weight of the TR3. Now, so some of you have already bought this, but let me show you how the cylinder works. Instead of cranking the top turn knuckle, all you do is use your hydraulic port and the control on the tractor, and you'll be able to adjust the pitch, which will give you the relationship for the blade and the finish rake, and allow you to make all your adjustments without having to get up off the tractor and do it manually. Well, that's it. That's the basic setup of the TR3 Rake. But you know, there's more to making it work properly than just the setup. I want to leave you with 3 tips on how to use the TR3 to make it work more effectively for you. Number 1, I've seen people do this all the time. They go into the arena and they go fast and then they slow down, and then they go fast and they slow down, especially with a hydrostatic transmission. Try to keep a standard speed. What happens when you're going fast and slow is that the TR3 is dipping, and that creates waves and undulations. The TR3 will not create dips and waves if you keep a consistent speed when you're dragging the arena. The second thing is, don't make too tight of turns. A lot of people like to go in and just spin the tool real quick. What's going to happen? The tool will push dirt to the side, you'll leave tire tracks. You want to make sweeping motions, slow turns, oval shapes. And the final thing is, I want you to change your dragging pattern. Don't always go straight up and straight down. Don't always go in a circle. Don't always do figure eights. Do different things. Move the dirt from place to place. The TR3 will keep it level. You don't have to worry about that. Just change your dragging patterns and you'll have much more consistent and much more satisfactory results from the TR3 Rake.